Oh, we're gone.
Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. And I guess he makes every day, and isn't that a blessing to us? It's so wonderful to see your faces here this morning. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for all of you who have joined on Zoom. Eric put some of your faces up on the screen before the service began, and it was nice to see some of you there. And say a little prayer that Phil will be able to find us as well. Technology is wonderful, isn't it, when it works? So I don't have any doubts. I shouldn't even put that thought out there. Anyway, we know who you are. We know who we are, and we are all children of the Father. And we also affirm that where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there in the midst. And I was just talking to my friend Ted this morning, and I said, it only takes 2 or 3, and here we all are. So it's not about numbers, but it's about having your presence here. So thank you for being here. And it's great to know we are all in our right place, whether that is here in person, on Zoom, or like my niece who made her transition this week. We bless you. We bless us all. My name's Esther Loveridge, and I'm happy to serve as a platform assistant with Reverend Phil Pearson today. If you'd like to know more about us, you can contact us on our website, which is capitalcityunity.org. And you can keep up to date on future speakers and events by making sure you're on our email list. And you can contact us at capitalcityunity@gmail.com. That is also the best place to request prayer with our prayer chaplain, Jackie. Praying for others is something we do. And if Jackie's not able to be here today, she's still recovering with her voice surgery. And so if there's anyone here who does need prayer today, I'll hang around and we can pray together. Another part of our service each Sunday is reading the daily word. And today is a special day, and I don't think you'll forget what the word is today because I'm going to show you. I took this off my wall at home because I thought it would be a way to emphasize the importance of joy in our lives. In the daily word, it says, joy. I delight in simple joys. Joy, it has been said, comes much more from wanting what we have than having what we want. Reflecting on this thought, I embrace the simple joys that this day offers. I enjoy my morning coffee, tea, or lemon water, savoring its flavor and fragrance. Walking through my neighborhood, I greet friends, smile at people I haven't met yet, and enjoy the fresh air. I find satisfaction in taking care of my home, working at my job, or helping a friend. Even if I am not with them today, I feel joy as I think of my connection with the people I care about most. I know joy whenever I look for possibilities rather than focusing on problems. My greatest joy is my awareness that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, God is always with me. God is always with us, always. And from Psalms, the 16th chapter and 11th verse, I read, "You show me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. In your right hand are pleasures forevermore. I delight in simple joys." Today we continue to pray for Jackie as she continues her healing, and also for Jack Benson as he continues to recover from a partial hip replacement. I was able to visit him this last week at Eschaton, and he's just doing remarkably well. I wanted to report that. And we see everyone in our prayer box as holy, divine, knowing who they are, a child of God in a healing body. We pray for the pets too, who offer us unconditional love and teach us so much about joyful living. Dear Father, Mother God, thank you for being you, for loving us unconditionally, for your grace that makes up for our deficiencies, and for teaching us all we need to learn as we experience life in a new, joyful way each day. Help us to continually embrace the Christ Spirit in everyone we meet. May we experience the joy that comes to us as we continually say, "Not my will, but thine be done." Amen. And now I invite you to embrace our weekly affirmations after me. There is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And can you join me? There is only one presence, one power, and one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. Join me. There is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. Oh, those are all such good promises, aren't they? I know we say them every week, and it might almost feel like a ritual sometimes, but rituals can be helpful. They reaffirm what we know in our hearts, and they reinforce what we know we believe. It's just like having a loved one tell you, "I love you." I remember my father told my mother, "I told you I loved you the day I married you, and when I change my mind, I'll let you know." But we all want to be affirmed that we're loved, don't we? And by coming together, we are able to do that, and I think that's wonderful. Well, we have a few announcements. Reverend Carolyn Oramundi will be our speaker next week, and she will be here in person, so I hope as many of you as can do come. She's going to continue her series on the 12 powers. And we also will get to have one of Suzanne's special meditations. She was going to be here today because Jackie couldn't be here, and so we just all pull together, don't we? So if you're tired of seeing me, just see me as the fill-in, right? So it's just wonderful to be able to fill in for whoever needs to have that done, and you for all of you who are so faithful in what you do to help this ministry. And on the 6th of November, following the morning service, we will have the memorial service for Gordon. And you're all invited to attend, and you can bring some food to share if you'd like to. And we'll just have a wonderful time of remembering how much he has served us over the years. And Reverend Phil Pearson needs no introduction. I'm going to introduce him early. And I think we are all aware of his history in Unity and as our pastor emeritus. It was Phil coming back to Sacramento about 6 or 7 years ago that brought Ben and I back to Unity. And of course, we'll be forever grateful that he performed our wedding ceremony 33 years ago. And now with Zoom, when we get connected, it's so much easier for him to come and be with us through the Zoom, so he doesn't have to come from Reno, and that's a blessing. And he has all of his wonderful books here, and I wanted to talk about that as well as others from the book table. We're offering a freebie to anybody who's in the congregation today for the Daily Word, because this is for September and October, and there's only 2 copies left. But if you don't have one and you like to reread them, be sure and pick up this one or the other one that's on the book table. And we also have Phil's 3 books here. The Spirit of the Best is a wonderful one, and it's, do I dare say it's always in my bathroom? But it's one that you can just pick up and read a little topic at a time, and it's wonderful. And of course, the book with Dorothy Pearson, Keeping Close in Prayer, is also available at the book table. And Phil's most recent book, Putting It All Together, is wonderful as well. This is a great, great book about how all of the different religions have come together and kind of culminated in a way with unity, because we have what the earlier faiths have taught us. And it's just, this awareness just keeps growing and growing as we all come together, and I love it. And also, Karen said I could talk about this book, I Wish You More, and then we added the word joy to the book. I mean, it's not really on there, but since today's all about joy, that's also available. And thank you, Karen, for always being there and setting this all up for us.
I asked that Karen recommended those books to me, and I started reading Dorothy's. It's fabulous.
Yes, yes. And I remember Dorothy saying several things. I didn't know her personally that well, but I remember, I behold the Christ in you. And you know, when we can look into the eyes of anyone else, not just those who are in agreement with us in various ideologies, but we can look into the eyes of everyone and say, I behold the Christ in you. I mean, that takes away all judgment, doesn't it? Because if we see the Christ in one another, we're all uplifted, we're all part of the same family. Oh, I'm just kind of going off here, aren't I? Let's see what other announcements are there. Well, I think we're ready to sing our first song. I thought about the word joy, and there's so many songs about joy. We could have sung Phil's joy songs, which are all happy. We could sing Joy to the World. It's a little early for that one, but it's not early. It's an everyday experience to know the joy that's in the world. But today I picked out number 27 in your songbook. So if you have that book, you can turn there, and Sharon will play it as we sing it. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to thy Son above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, dry the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light the morning stars began. Father love is reigning over us, brother love binds man to man. Ever singing march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music leads us onward in the triumph song of life. It's wonderful to be able to sing this song, be able to hear your voices, and have it not be my funeral. And the reason I say that is because I told Ben a long time ago when I had to write my obituary, because he said he could never write it if I died first. Well, I decided that was the song I wanted played at my funeral. So I love some of the words, and it seems so appropriate to sing about the joy that was in that message in our daily word today. And we also sang the words, Father love is reigning over us, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou our Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. What another great promise. Well, we're going to lead into the meditation, and since I shake things up and do things a little bit differently, this will be no different. It seems to me that we are always being reminded in life to let go and let God. And submission is something that the Muslims are teaching us, according to Phil Pearson's book, Putting It All Together. We also want to see the Spirit of Christ in others, and the final line of the song by Adelaide Pollard is, Christ only, always living in me. Christ only, always living in me. And that is certainly my prayer. So I think this would be a good time, Eric, to put this beautiful song up that I think will lead into Phil's message. So I'm going to go ahead and sit down, and we can listen to the song and then hear from Phil talking about waiting on your Father. It ties in so well, doesn't it? So thank you, Eric.
Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. Thou art the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after thy will, while I am waiting, yielded and still. Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. Search me and try me, Master, today. Whiter than snow, Lord, wash me just now, as in thy presence humbly I bow. Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. see Christ only always living in me. Christ only always living in me.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for playing that beautiful song. I hope it meant something to you. It certainly does to me as we surrender. Do we have Phil? We don't have Phil. Well, this is interesting. So we don't have Phil. So we have a choice. How would Spirit lead us today? Ronnie, do you have any ideas? Can you repeat that again?
And stand up and say, how did God give you his own way?
That sounds wonderful. Would you like us all to stand? One at a time. Would you mind starting to demonstrate how we can do this?
God had his own way.
Yes. Oh,
I have had to think what the lesson was. About a month ago, something happened that I couldn't get into my email for a month. And then I got a letter from AT&T and said, just put in a password and it'll go. So that was one of the lessons. What was in that email that I didn't need to know, or that I needed to look up and be more conscious of what I needed to know. And then other things started happening. They weren't unpleasant, but they were confusing, and I didn't know what the message was. So the other day, my daughter called up and said, Mom, I'm coming down on Saturday. And I said, oh, good. She said, would you like to go see your sister in Vallejo? And I said, sure. So she came down and we went to Vallejo. And I opened her door. She's in a care facility. I opened the door to her apartment. And the look on her face when I walked in the door, I hadn't seen her in about 4 years. We'd talk on the phone all the time. But that was what God's message was. I love you. Forget about the email. Forget about all of the other things that have happened to you. And keep in mind, you don't always know what the gift is, but you don't know at Christmas until you open the package even. So that was my gift from God.
Beautiful, thank you. Is there someone else here that would like to share a special moment? He's with us every day when we open our eyes, every day that we look out the window and see the birds. Randy, I'd love to have you say something.
Some of you know that earlier this summer, I took a second job at Macy's, and I worked there part-time over the summer, just to save some money for some extra things around the house. And then there came a time when I felt like that wasn't what I was supposed to do anymore. So I did that for 3 months, and I wondered what was the point of that time. And I think about the people that I met, the people that I interacted with, and just the little experiences I had with people where they said something like, you're so patient, or you're so kind. The people that I'm friends with now that I didn't know before, and the fact that we still interact on social media, who knows what relationships, those will turn into down the road. And I just think that sometimes God is working in ways that we just don't understand, and it's good to be open to letting your life unfold the way it unfolds. So that's what I wanted to share.
I don't know if there's any hands going up on the Zoom call or not, but I don't know that the technology would allow their voice to be heard here in this room. But I had an interesting experience this week. I found out that my niece passed, and it was kind of unfortunate. But you know what? There are no mistakes. There are no accidents. She was killed by a car. Was hit and dead at the scene. But you know what? I really believe that all things work together for good. It's just not the ones that necessarily bring joy, but all things, and that's the faith that we all have. So we can cling to that no matter what happens in our lives, God is always there, always ministering to us and giving us an opportunity to make changes in our life, to reach out to those who need our help, to reach out to those in our family and our friendships. So I give thanks that she is no longer in pain. She was legally dead a year ago, and they brought her back, and she had an extra year. I give thanks for that, for times that Ben and I got to be with her. And I really believe that this is going to be an opportunity for all of her children to pull together and be united within their group. So, when we can get to that point where we say all things work together for good, it really is a joy. Even Phil having difficulty connected today, it's all in divine order. There are no mistakes. And you are all here by divine order. So I don't know if he's ever going to connect today or not. It looks like he's back there working very hard on it. But we can always sing another song and see if that gives him time to connect. Does anybody have a favorite song you want to sing? Well, I just opened up to number 344. Maybe Sharon can find that if somebody gives her a songbook. There is joy in my heart. Isn't that appropriate? There is joy in my heart and a smile on my face because I love the world. There's a song on my lips. Love the whole world race, and I love the world. Feel my spirits are singing. Feel happiness winging like bells that are ringing high. God is here everywhere. Joy is filling the air because I love the world. This is going to be a fun song. Is he on? He's coming.
Hello.
Okay. Oh, great. Just in the nick of time.
You got audio.
Okay.
Take it away, Phil.
Am I on now?
Yes, you're on.
Hello. Okay. Well, friends, I'm sorry for confusion I seem to cause for these meetings. In any event, I'm glad I can talk to you vocally today. I have to get here into the spirit of my message for a minute. What I want to talk to you about, I can get into by saying, as some of you may know, I live now in Reno in a retirement home, and it's a great blessing for me. I have a beautiful apartment, and most importantly, I have 3 meals a day provided for me. And when I go down to those meals, we always have a wonderful sharing time. And I want to mention a particular person by the name of Fred, who sits at the table next to the table where I sit. And Fred is 94. He sort of shuffles along and gets into his seat and has his lunch. But when he goes to get up from his lunch, he often can't quite seem to make it. And so those of us who are nearby take turns. We rush over and help Fred get up to his feet. The other day, his son was visiting him and obviously waiting upon him there at the facility in different ways. And he came in with Fred for lunch. And then when lunch was over and Fred was ready to go, his son stood up behind him, and Fred was struggling to get up, and his son rather just stood there and let Fred keep trying to get up. And then his son talked encouraging words to him until finally Fred made it. And it was obvious that his son was wanting Fred to exercise his ability to do it, to make it. Whereas for all of us, we would rush around and get Fred up with our help. But his son wanted Fred to keep trying to, if at all possible, make it, to do it on his own. And I mention this because I believe it has a lot to do with our relationship to God or universal mind. In a way, it's my example is a reversal of the reality of our God relationship. You see, Jesus was not kidding when he gave us the thought that God is our Father. God is our Father. God is our Creator who has instilled in us his own nature. But we are the Fred of our story. We're trying to get out of our chair, struggling with it, because the chair that we have in our life that we need to get out of is our limiting thinking. We need to be able to stand on our own spiritual legs, which is to know the truth of our being and not, again, our very limited human thinking. God, in my example, or by my example, is Fred's son who has come to wait on his father. But reversing my example, it is the father who has come to wait on the son, which is us. Jesus said in Luke, fear not, little flock, for it is my Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, to give to you, or to wait on you, to fulfill your needs. And as I say that to you, it sounds so easy, it's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But it's such an absolute truth that it's awesome. God's entire desire is to give you the kingdom. And that was, of course, Jesus' word. And to Jesus, the kingdom was not the next life somewhere or some other astral realm. It was right here on earth. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the best of the kingdom. But there's one major point of understanding. We need to know about this relationship to God and God's desire to give us the kingdom. Because God is, you see, like Fred's son. God requires that we make the effort to do that which will allow us to stand on our own. Not to stand without God's help, but rather to stand in allowing God to help us. God's whole desire for every one of you who is hearing my voice today, it is the same. It is the highest good of your life. Fulfillment in every area of your life. That's God's desire for you. But to make it possible for God to help you, you must stand on your own feet in terms of what it is you were made to do. You were made to be a channel for God's love. God can only serve or wait on you if you provide the connection of being what you are made to be, and that is a channel for love. When Jesus said that we must learn to love God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and our neighbor as ourselves, he was not just doing that because God desired it. I know I've told you this many times, but I repeat it over to myself very often. It is for my sake that I must learn to love God with all my heart and soul, mind, my neighbors, myself, because that's the connector. Love is the connecting agent that we have to God. To the degree that we are able to love, we give access to God into our lives. The only thing that, and it's important that I add to this, make the connection. We have to become this channel of love, of God, of others, our neighbors, and ourselves. But we also have to learn to wait on the Father. There are very few occasions, from my experience, that we're given our desired good instantaneously. That is, we often have to wait to let God wait on us in the perfect way. God takes us where we are and then moves the flow of our lives to bring us the good that we seek. God moves the flow of our lives to bring us the good we seek. I have so many examples of this in my own life, and perhaps I shared one that I think of so often that I most especially love, and that is how it was that I found the Unity work. Back when I was in the oil business, as some of you know, and very unhappy and had some unhappy personal experiences, I found my relationship to God and the certainty of God's love for me. And with that, I thought, I want to share this with people. And so then I began to look where I could go into the ministry. And that search took me many years and took me in many different directions. But I realized all through that time, God was trying to move me to where I could find a ministry that I could serve. And so, as I have undoubtedly shared with you, I could not find a church to relate to. And so I finally gave up and went into business and became a regional manager for Standard & Poor's Corporation. And I find myself just smiling because I was so close to getting the answer to what my prayer of finding a ministry I could serve, but I wasn't quite there. And so I was given a region to be the manager of for Standard & Poor's, but apparently, very definitely, was not going to be a place where I would find the ministry that I could serve. And so after I was there for a while and not happy doing that kind of work, I asked God somehow to take me out of what I was doing because I wasn't happy there. And so out of the blue, I was drafted. And I was drafted into the service and spent a little over a year in Europe in the Army. And then I came back, and now I am certain I wasn't going back into business. I was going to find a ministry. And so I visited several places and thought of working in some related businesses, not necessarily the church, but I met with the head of the Red Cross in Washington, D.C., and couldn't find any place to work there that I felt was satisfying. And so I finally ended up saying, well, when my old boss from Standard & Poor's called me and asked me if I'd come back again, I took a job again as regional manager for Standard & Poor's. But this time it was in a different area. And I don't know if I was God looking at this situation. I'd say, now I've sent you here once before, but somehow you got in the wrong area. Now I'm going to put you in the right area. So I became regional manager for an area that included Massachusetts and the town that I was born in. And I remember I was getting ready to go out into the field, and I was at our Wall Street office in New York, and a man came into my office, and I wasn't too keen to talk to him because he was sort of known in the office for somebody who always told you how you should run your life. And sure enough, he asked me where I was going to be, and he said, "Oh, that's a big area." He said, "You just want a place to hang your hat." He said, "You may be a YMCA. Just get a place there to put your hat." And I thought to myself, there's no way that I want to live in a YMCA. But anyway, I thanked him and he left. And then I went out of my territory and I looked over the areas. I drove, thinking of where I would want to hang my hat. And I couldn't find anything. It was very exciting. And I was driving home back to Connecticut, where I was still living with my parents who lived there. And as I was going along, I went through the town I was born in, Beverly, Massachusetts. And I was stopped at the red light right in the middle of town. And as I sat there, I looked over across the street, and there was the building, and it said YMCA. I thought, oh, that's what that guy in New York said. That's where I should hang my hat. And somebody said, well, maybe you better look there. So I went into the building and I said, do you folks have private rooms here? And they said, oh, yeah. And I said, can I look at it? And so I looked, and sure enough, it was a very nice room. I thought, well, maybe this is the place to be. And so when I came down to the entrance hall, I was getting ready to leave, and I looked on a little table, and here was a sign, and it said, Unity meeting here tonight. No, it was Tuesday night. In any event, I thought, Unity? I think that's that stuff that my mother takes a magazine from Unity called Daily Word. I thought, well, I'll come back and go to that meeting. So I came back, went to that meeting, and there was a darling little lady who was running it, and there was, maybe 10, 15 people there for this class that she conducted. Well, I'd never been in any class or any Unity kind of meeting, but I was very impressed with her spirit and the things she said. And then she led a meditation. Well, I never had been in a meditation before. And again, I was impressed. So we went out the door. I just thanked her. That's all I did. I said, thank you very much. I appreciated my time here, and left. That's all I said. But the next week, I made a point of being back there at the same time. And when I came to the room, because I was staying there, there was nobody else there. I was so early, except a man. And as I came in, he said hello, and I said hello, went over and sat down. And then he came up and he said, were you here last week for this meeting? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, my wife said if there was a young man who came to the meeting, that I was to give you this pamphlet. And so I sat down and glanced at the pamphlet, and lo and behold, the pamphlet said, how to become a unity minister. And boy, all the bells went off in my head and my heart, I'm sure. And I realized God had waited upon me and carefully guided to me a place that would confirm where it was that I could at last find a place to minister, to be brought circuitously to the very town I was born in, and that then be approached with invitation in this pamphlet to become a unity minister was way beyond chance. And so within a matter of a week or so, I had made a trip to Unity Village, met with James Philip Freeman, who became a very dear friend of mine, and was convinced that that was my place. And as most of you have heard me say, since that point in my life, I could never have been happier. I have been so blessed to serve the Unity ministry. And I hope many, many others have been blessed by my ministry. And certainly, as you know, again, in this activity of God in my life, finding Dorothy and spending 50 years with her has been one of the greatest miracles of my life that again came out of this. Well, that's a story. I have the feeling that many of you have heard this story before, but I love to go over it again because it's so confirming of the word that I shared with you again at the beginning. It is God's pleasure to give you the good of this kingdom, which means happiness, prosperity, health, all the ingredients that make up for a good life. And all we have to do to claim that in our lives is to be able to make ourselves available to God. We do that, as I said, by learning to love with all our hearts and souls and minds, not only God, but importantly ourselves, because there's no way God can help us if we're down on ourselves. And secondly, to make our life available to other people by loving all people. So that wherever we are, wherever we go in the dimension of human beings, we are at home because of our love. Well, I invite you today to join me in retirement. That is, to retire from any degree of worrying about receiving the good you seek, where it is the Father's good pleasure to wait on you, to take care of you. Love God actively every day of your life. Then wait upon God good to come to you, because it will. God never fails. God never fails. And you say, as you hear this word, I know there's that in you which echoes it within yourself and says, yeah, I believe that. I believe that. And then when you find yourself perhaps not having the fulfillment that you're seeking, and perhaps you've waited on God for that to happen, then just ask yourself whether perhaps you haven't fulfilled that part of learning to stand up out of your chair on your own, which means to hold yourself in the consciousness of the expectation of that good. Because that is, of course, an equal part of it. That's learning to stand up, break out of our being bound by thoughts of limitation or things that are too good to be true. Nothing is too good to be true. The Spirit of the Lord is constantly going before you to make your way easy and to make it clear. We learn to live with a wonderful consciousness of knowing the best is yet to be. The best is yet to be. Before I wind it up, I want to say that as surely as this is true for our individual lives, it is true for our world. For the larger world is like one life, as far as God's relationship is concerned. God loves us all. It is one great human family. And so we need to know, as a part of our own well-being, that what is true for us is true for the world. It is the Father's good pleasure to create a world that is expressive of his own nature, of every aspect of God's goodness. And so, as we make our contribution to the consciousness of the world, we make sure that we are standing up strong in our position that God's good is constantly working at all times in and through all things. We learn to look with wonder at that which is before us, expecting miracle to follow miracle. I love that word. I look with wonder that is before me. Miracle follows miracle, and wonders never cease. I hold that to be true for you folks today, and I'm glad that I could at least come to you vocally today. Blessings to you all. Goodbye.
Perfectly said, and I just think it's so wonderful to have Phil. Anyway, I'll go ahead. Have Phil with us today. It's just so wonderful to have his voice and his affirmation of what God has done in his life, what God is doing in the lives of all of us. And it's just wonderful too to know that his messages are being recorded and they are being put on YouTube. It will be a little while before they get put up because long communication, but in a couple of weeks we'll have these all put up. So that's what we call. Oh, so we give in love because we love to give, right? To each other and then our offers help us to become my one and only Della. Thank you for being here today. And sharing with each other too, and always help you out. Oh, I don't have it down. Well, I think there were several thoughts that I had. Go ahead, Della, and I'll just kind of talk me up. And so many things that Phil said that crossed my mind, and I thought about the scripture. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Teach me, Lord, to wait. And that's what we all do in terms of waiting on the Father to lead us in the daily lives. So wonderful to know that no matter what we go through, He's there by our side. I'm so thankful for yourself in my life personally, and thankful for your message because as you told your story again, I was reminded that then I have been to Beverly, Massachusetts, and now I know that you're doing so. Thank you, Lord, for the offerings that are given. Thank you for the love that is given. Thank you for the time and the help that is given. We bless all those who keep this ministry going. We embrace and love you with us all. Wow. Taking all that in. Everything is in order. Even Sharon, I can read the board. There's no sound. There's a power outage. So we can just join in our circle and we'll sing off the power. So we're singing love is on the power. 119.
one and all.
Okay, someone comes the first minute.
Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, our love. See our circle grow. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, our love. See our circle grow. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, our love. See our circle grow. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us.
Wherever we are, God is all is well. Bye, Catherine.
Bye-bye. It's good to see you too.
Bye-bye. See you next week.
Okay, see you.